my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today we are going to talk about having patience with yourself. My friend Christine will be happy to hear that we have officially graduated to hot tea weather. So there's that. Anyways, so I just wanted to sit down. I'm not actually sitting, actually I'm standing. But I wanted to stand here and talk with you guys just a little bit about my writing journey over the last year and kind of some things that I have learned, because I think I had an expectation of myself last year going into Nano that I'm still dealing with, but I'm much more cognizant of this time around. So obviously this is in context of NaNoWriMo, but this is something that I've been struggling with probably for the last 2 or 3 years, and I've only just started kind of thinking about it probably since, I'd say, April, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Do I look like I write down, oh, I had an epiphany about my own personal growth? No, I only write down epiphanies about characters. So I've been writing for a really long time. I've been writing since I was 16 or younger. My first actual sit down, I'm going to make a novel out of this, I wrote when I was 16-ish. Again, not dated, don't keep track of personal epiphanies. It was a Cinderella retelling, and yeah, it was whichever year. When did Ella Enchanted, hold on, I can actually look this up, hold on. When did the Ella Enchanted movie come out?
Ella Enchanted came out in the United States of America on April 9th, 2004.
Okay, so yeah, I was 16. So that was the first book that I wrote, and I remember not really having a lot of expectations of myself. That is probably the most detailed I've ever gotten in an outline. But anyways, that's a whole different thing. But I remember I sat down and writing that book was so easy. And then the next book that I wrote, which has been shelved and may never see the light of day again because it's a dystopian, and I don't know that is where I am meant to go. I mean, I still like the story, but I don't know if I'm ever going to pull it back out. But that one spent, I think I wrote most of it. I have a habit of pausing right before the end and not finishing the book until 6 months later. But that one I do remember I wrote really, really quickly. And then with The Queen's Game, which is the project I'm querying right now, it took me 2 months to write that entire novel. Two months to write it. And I did. I wrote it from start to finish within 2 months. I am a pretty fast drafter. Drafting is not necessarily fun for me, but it is something that I can do, and it doesn't take, I don't want to say it doesn't take a lot of brain power, because yep, it does. And a lot of emotional energy, all of that stuff. And I'm an introvert, so I only have so much emotional energy. Anyways, so the whole point of this is that drafting is easy for me. Even in the case of Ash Girl, which took me 3 years to sit down and actually write the right book, drafting is easy for me, because once I figured out what the right book was, it was out. It was done. I was able to write it. And then we get to editing. And it took me 2 months to write Queen's Game. It took me, hold on, I need to check a date. This is the planner I was using when I started Queen's Game. And I have, hold on, I have it in here. Let's see, I don't know that I have, because it had a different title at that point. I had a very involved sticker system back then, but I don't have as much. But this is me writing Queen's Game. Not that. That is not me writing Queen's Game. The date on this was 2014. Do you see it? Do you see it? There it is, 2014. And so I finished the first draft in 2014. And then it took me, last year I think it took me 4 years to get it to where it was ready to be sent out. And part of that is because I hate editing. Because editing takes me so much longer than drafting. Drafting is so easy because you have that word count. Oh yeah, I wrote 500 words today. Oh yeah, I wrote 1,000 words today. That really helps you get going. And just, I'm one of those people, if I can rack up numbers, I'm going really good. I'm doing well. That makes me feel accomplished and I'm getting something done. And editing is not necessarily that straightforward. I'm making it a little bit more straightforward right now for NaNoWriMo, but it is not necessarily that straightforward, because sometimes you're taking away words, and sometimes you're not changing the number of words that you have. Sometimes you're just sitting there figuring out what event is supposed to go with which where. You know, it's like you're going, okay, well actually this scene makes no sense here, but it would look really good right here, or this scene just needs to go away. So I was getting, especially with Queen's Game, I was getting so frustrated with myself when I was writing, that just writing was not a joy for me. I was not having fun with it. I was getting burnt out because I was so frustrated by the fact that it was taking me so much longer to edit. And I finally had to sit back, and I think this is something that I've really come to realize more this year than last year, because I've always known it takes me a little longer to edit. Like, I realized that a couple years ago. I'm trying to go into this particular round of edits with more patience for myself, with more, like, is it going to be frustrating if I don't get to 50,000 words by the end of the month? Yes, it is going to be very frustrating. I'm quite a bit behind. Could I catch up? Yes, I could. Will that be my best work, though, if I catch up? That's a completely different story. That's a different question, and there is honey on my mug. I guess what all of this rambling is about is just the thing that I have learned over the last year, and it's made this editing process much easier, is that you need to have patience with yourself. You need to understand and accept the way that your brain works when it comes to writing. Just know that, like, I know it can be really discouraging to get to the end of the month and be like, but I don't have 50,000 words. I have failed. And I just want to remind you that if you have written anything at all, you have succeeded. I'll say again, if you have written anything at all, you are doing better than the dude that's sitting next to you at Starbucks thinking about how he is going to start his novel someday when he's ready. If you're here, if you're watching this video, if you're doing NaNoWriMo, you started it. Maybe it's crap. Okay, that's great, but you won't know it until you've written it down. So I just have some patience with yourself, have some patience with your writing journey. I feel like this last year has just been me getting to know how I work and how I write, and understanding that it is different than how I used to work and write when I was a teenager and didn't have a full-time job. And it's even different than when I was in college, when I would go for stretches without writing and then really focus on it for a little bit of time when I, had the time, when school was over, when I was on break, when it was summer. So it's been a journey these last couple of years trying to figure out how do I write now that I'm an adult. Okay, I'm rambling, but just like, that's it. That's the thing. It's like, have some patience with yourself. Don't look at Nano as something, like, obviously we all want to win Nano. Don't get me wrong. But, like, if it's getting to be too much for you, don't be afraid to, like, step it back and be like, you know what? This is not about winning. This is about just writing my book and working on my story and figuring out how I write. Use this time to get to know how you write. Use this time to get to know what kind of environment works best for you. I think the best part about Nano, like, I have not been laying down the words this year for Nano. I have not. Most of my days I am lucky if I reach 500 words. But the thing that I am focusing on that is making me very happy is that I've spent every single day working on my story. So maybe you're not sitting down and laying down thousands of words. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you just don't have time for that. So instead, like, what are you doing right? What are you getting out of Nano? It doesn't have to be 50,000 words. Anyways, so I guess that was like a chatty video, maybe a slight pep talk. I'm not entirely sure what this video is. I know I need to put my mug down so I can do my outro properly. Just a little bit of encouragement for you, just a little bit talking about me and my writing process, and I cannot wait until Nano is over, because when Nano is over, well, I cannot wait till I'm done editing this book, because when I'm done editing this book, we get to start a new project. So there will be a lot more writing videos coming your way. I'm gonna try and share some of the writing process as I start this new project that I'm doing. I want to kind of maybe like chronicle some of it, because someday it might end up published. Someday it might never end up published. I don't know. There are no guarantees in this life except death and taxes are negotiable if you want to go to jail. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more videos like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up so I know to make more. If you are new to my channel and you like videos about books and writing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is it for now, my friends. Happy writing, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!